Yo, peep this. You just clicked on Let's View It, and I'm Tyrone Cross. Welcome to my channel, so you already know. Let's view it. 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 What's up, real ones? Y'all know what it is. Welcome to Let's View It, the realest YouTube channel on YouTube. And if you don't already know that, that's probably because this is the first time you ever clicked on my video. And if that's the case, well, then you're new to the crew and we welcome you. And all I hope is after this video, if you like how I do what I do, please subscribe and help support my channel. This is a relatively new channel. It will be Let's View It's 1-year anniversary on September 30th. And just to give you guys an idea of what kind of grind and patience you have to have when you're trying to build your channel from the ground up with nothing to launch it. I mean, you have no viral video, you weren't an extra in a movie, or you weren't part of a viral video, you know, like that lady on the plane.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
That motherfucker's not real. If that lady put up a YouTube channel, she would have more subscribers than me right now in one day. So I have none of that. I have nothing to actually launch me. It's just me, my camera, and hoping people like me. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I probably won't even have 1,000 subscribers in the first year. And if you think about that, to get 1,000 subscribers in 1 year, you have to get basically 2.74, a little less than 3 subscribers a day. And that doesn't sound like very much, but it looks like I'm not going to make it. But that shows you how hard it can be to really build a channel up. To try to get 3 subscribers a day can actually be a challenge. And I know that sounds crazy considering how big YouTube is, how big the world is, and how many views I actually get. It's very hard to get 3 subscribers a day. So if you want to make your own channel and you're just a regular guy like me, just keep grinding, be patient, and eventually it will happen. But now let me get into this video. This video, it's a special video. It's very different from my typical videos because today I'm giving myself a treat and I'm gonna give myself my very own autism assessment. I figured since all this fake
touched by the tism too, baby, I'm just saying
stuff has been trending and I've been making videos on it, I decided, hey, why not give myself my own assessment like they do? Now, before I start my autism assessment, let me say this. I do not think or ever thought or ever think I will be
touched by the tism too, baby, I'm just saying.
But with that being said, from everything that I've seen on TikTok, I believe this assessment will show that I'm
touched by the tism too, baby, I'm just saying.
But I want to clarify and make sure that everybody knows that when I take this assessment, in no way am I going to manipulate my answers, and I'm going to answer the questions as truthfully as I can. So I'm taking this assessment as legitimately as possible. And also, if you guys want, you can also take the assessment along with me. I'll put the assessment link in the description below. And I can't lie, I am curious about how many people will turn out to be
touched by the tism too, baby, I'm just saying,
from this assessment. But please, no matter what the outcome is, this is not a real assessment. If you feel
you might be touched by the tism too, baby, I'm just saying,
please get diagnosed by a professional. There, my butt's covered. Now, I'm about to get into this assessment. But before I do, I just want to show you who and how I got referred to this particular assessment. So you already know. Let's view it.
There is a new autism assessment out. It's called the Monotropism Questionnaire. And I believe this is probably the best assessment of autism. It is available freely and it can be used for research purposes. And I will provide the link to it in the description. So the questionnaire has 47 statements and you rate how much you agree with them or disagree with them. And the total score out of 47 tells you how much monotropism you have or how monotropic you are. And monotropism is a theory of autism that is the only theory that was developed by an autistic person, Dina Murray and others. Can't remember exactly right now. And Dina Murray's son is actually one of the people who published this questionnaire, as well as Garau and others. So they have published the results of monotropism in autism and ADHD. ADHDers also have more monotropism, and autistic people who also have ADHD have the highest score, I guess you could say. I'm going to read out a couple of questions from this questionnaire. And
okay, I'm going to stop her there because instead of us listening to her read the questions, I'm about to do the questions myself. So let's see if I have autism. So here's the exact questionnaire that she referred us to. It's called the monotropism questionnaire. Now, monotropism is supposed to be a major underlying factor in all these autisms and ADHDs, or neurodivergence, if you will. And just in case you're like, what? A neurodivergent is basically a person who says their brain works differently than neurotypical people, i.e. autism and ADHD. So autism and ADHD are supposed to have signs of monotropism. So let's read a little bit of this before I answer the questions. Before you begin, I am not a doctor. I am a bored web developer who thinks self-diagnosis is valid. So right away they clarify that they are not doctors. They are people that believe in self-diagnosis. These are the people promoting taking these questionnaires online. It continues to say, this is not diagnosing anything. This is not diagnosing anything. Compare your scores to the results of the data from the initial validation study and continue to research. So right away it's admitting this is not a doctor's opinion. This does not diagnose, and continue to do research. So tell me exactly why did this lady say this is the best assessment to take to figure out if you have autism or ADHD? Now let's get to the nitty and the gritty, and let's start this monotropism assessment. Number 1, I find social interactions more comfortable if communicating about a topic of interest to me. Unless you're some weirdo pathological liar that makes up stuff on the spot about everything, wouldn't this be true for everybody? Who's not more comfortable talking about things they know? So the options are NA, strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree, or strongly agree. Well, like I said, who's not more comfortable when you're talking about something you're interested in? I know that's the case with me, so I'm gonna put I strongly agree. Number 2, I am often totally focused on activities I am passionate about to the point I am unaware of other events. Again, I would think this is true for most people, but this would mainly happen if what you're passionate about takes concentration. Let's say you're passionate about going on a run or going to the gym. Those type of activities don't take so much mental concentration that you have to block out outside distractions. But let's say you're a YouTuber like me and you're editing a video, you're listening real close to what's being said, or you're an artist and you're creating things. Whenever your mind's continuously thinking to create and make sure everything's going right, then I would have the tendency to block out outside distractions. Because you're focused, you have to be focused, because without being focused on it, it will not get done. You can go for a run and think about what you're gonna make for dinner. I can't focus and edit the details of my YouTube video if I'm thinking about the dog. But at the same time, I have other passions like playing basketball where it doesn't keep me focused or blocking out outside distractions. So for this one, I'll just put agree, because sometimes yes and sometimes no. Number 3, I often struggle to concentrate in busy and or unpredictable environments. Again, this is another question that I would think would apply to like 90% of the population. If your environment is hectic or definitely unpredictable, it can make it hard to concentrate. And then it talks about, well, what's unpredictable? Is the safety of the environment unpredictable? Because if your well-being is unpredictable in a moment, that's distracting to anybody. Or when if the activity you're doing requires you to be able to hear, but you can't hear because everything's too loud. So now you can't get your activity done. But then you could be at a sporting event and the crowd's really loud and it's not distracting at all because it goes with the environment. So again, this is another, well, sometimes and sometimes not. So as you can see already, a lot of these questions are not just yes or no, black and white. But if my answer is yes and no, I'm gonna put agree. Number 4, I need a quiet and predictable environment for me to switch from one task to another easily. This question is similar to the third question, so I'm going to give the same answer. Number 5, I often lose sense of time when engaging in activities I am passionate about. Is this assessment for real? Is that not true for everybody? There's been tons of times I need to pick up my daughter from school at a certain time. I'm like, I got 20 more minutes to work on this video. Next thing you know, it's been 30 minutes. Whenever I'm really focused on something, time always seems to go faster. And I believe that's true for most people, even when they're at their crappy jobs. If it's a really busy day or you're given a task where you're really just focusing on it, and then you look up at the clock and you're like, dang, it's already time to go home, or it's already lunchtime. So with that being said, with me always creating things, looking for content and things like that, I always lose track of time. There's always less time than I need. So I'm going to put strongly agree. Number 6, I can get quite good at something even if I'm not especially interested in it. I mean, not to brag, and I really do mean not to brag, but I do feel like for the most part, most things, if I really wanted to be good at them, I could be, unless there's some physical reason that's stopping me. But honestly, for the most part, most things I can get a handle on. So I'm going to put strongly agree. Number 7, after a period of instability, I need a quiet and predictable environment. I can't believe these questions are real. After a period of instability, of course you need some type of quietness or calm environment to calm yourself down. If you're in a period of instability and you go to chaos, how are you going to get stable? You might not need your environment predictable per se, but you need things to chill. I think I'm going to put strongly agree because I never seen someone in an unstable situation or showing instability and didn't want it to be calmer or the environment to be calmer. That just wouldn't make no sense. So I strongly agree. Number 8, I tend to do activities because I find them interesting instead of due to social expectations. For me, straight up, that's a strongly agree. I could care less about social expectations. I've been that way my whole life. I never really got into trends like that. I don't care what's hot. I don't care what people expect me to do or say, and I also believe that's the strength of my YouTube channel. So I strongly agree. Number 9, I find sudden, unexpected disruptions to my attention startling. What does that even mean? Like you're paying attention to something and then something just jumps out and goes boom and distracts you? Like a jump scare? Or are they talking about you're doing something and randomly a person comes up to you and says, "Excuse me, sir," or "Excuse me, ma'am," and that startles you? To be honest, this question kind of confuses me, so I'm just going to put I don't agree or disagree. Number 10, I sometimes avoid talking because I cannot reliably predict how others will react, especially strangers. Bro, does not everybody do this? So when two siblings are there and they're like,
"No, you go ask Dad." "No, you go ask Dad." "No, I'm not gonna ask Dad. He might get mad."
haven't we all been through something like that where you're not sure if you should say something or ask somebody something because it can make it worse? And it says right here, I sometimes avoid talking. And I believe everybody has avoided talking to a stranger, not knowing how they're going to react. So I strongly agree. Number 11, it is distressing to be unexpectedly pulled away from something I'm engaged in. What is this crap? I think nobody likes to be pulled away from something they're engaged in if they're enjoying it. Or maybe they really need to get it done and can't afford being pulled away right now. But sometimes you can get pulled away and it's not a big deal. So again, that's an agree and a disagree. It's a yes and a no. So I agree. Not strongly, but I agree. Number 12, I often notice details that others do not. All I can say to this is that I'm a pretty observant person. I do notice many details, but I think a lot. But I never put myself in a contest to see if I'm more observant than the next. So I would say there's a chance that I do notice more details than others, and I definitely think of certain topics in different ways. I've had coworkers tell me, "You're not normal." But if I was to put money on it or guess, I would say I probably do notice more details than average. Just because of the way I think of certain situations, the way I could turn them around, seeing from different perspectives, I would assume that would apply to how I visually take in the world as well. So I strongly agree. Number 13, I rarely find simultaneously holding eye contact and making a verbal conversation with another person uncomfortable. Well, if the question is I rarely find it uncomfortable, then I strongly agree because I rarely find it uncomfortable. Number 14, I rarely find social situations chaotic. I would say I rarely find social situations chaotic. Sometimes they're chaotic, but rarely. Number 15, involvement in an activity of interest often reduces my anxiety level. Well, if I'm feeling anxiety and I start doing something to take my mind off of it, of course it reduces my anxiety level. I strongly agree. Number 16, I don't mind if someone interrupts me when I'm in the middle of an activity. As you can see, these questions just keep repeating themselves in different ways. So as I explained before, it depends on the activity. It depends why you're being interrupted. It depends, do you have a time limit for the activity? So I believe that was a yes and no one, so agree. So I lost count of what question we're on, so I'm just going to read them. Next question. I am usually passionate about a few topics at any one time in my life. I strongly agree. Who's not passionate about a few topics? If you're not passionate about a few topics, you're probably in depression right now. Next question. I have trouble filtering out sound when I'm not doing something I'm focused on. Filtering out sound. Does that mean when there's a bunch of noises, you can focus on one sound? Is that what filtering out sound means? This is another question I don't quite understand. It's a little confusing. And why would me focusing on something else now help me filter out sound? Again, I'm confused, so I can't give a good answer. So I go in the mid. Next question. I often engage in lengthy discussions on topics I find interesting, even though my conversational partners or partner do not. The way I would answer this question is it depends on if they're showing that they're disinterested. If they hide the fact that they're not interested, I might just keep talking. But if I read that they're not interested or that they're ready for the conversation to end, I will end it. But at the same time, I will start a conversation that they're probably not interested in. So I will say I agree because I think most people will just listen to you speak, and I think that I have interest in topics that are not common. Next question. When I'm working on something, I'm open to helpful suggestions. I strongly agree. You don't have to take the suggestion, but it's always nice to hear because you might hear something that you did not know and might make you better at whatever you're doing. So I'm very open to hearing criticisms and other advice. Next question. I often experience anxiety over matters I have little certainty over. I'm going to put disagree here. I'm not a very anxious person. I'm just not. I'm a go with the flow, control what you can type of person. All stressing out does is kill you. But also, it's not like I never felt anxious. Next question. I usually mean what I say and no more than that. This is another confusing question. I only say what I mean. Why would I be saying stuff I don't mean? Now, I'm not talking about you accidentally say something out of anger and you have to apologize to your wife or something about it. But when I'm expressing myself, my feelings, and my opinions, I'm saying what I mean. There's never been a time where I'm like, I'm about to say what I don't mean. And I definitely don't say what I mean and then continue to say stuff I don't mean. So I guess I strongly agree. Next. I often find it difficult to switch topics after engaging in an activity for a long time. Another confusing question. You find it difficult to switch topics after engaging in a long activity? A topic and an activity is two different things. So are they saying you went on a 5-mile run, so now you can only talk about one thing? Again, another confusing question that I cannot give a real answer to, so it's in the mid. Next question. I manage uncertainty by creating routines. I'm going to put disagree. At this point in my life, I'm medically retired. I don't have a real schedule. So far as like things being on a routine or getting things done or uncertainties in that kind of case, they don't exist in my life right now. I have to take my daughter to school and pick her up from school. That's my daily obligated schedule. But also, of course, we all make up routines to get things done in a timely manner, whether it's getting up, getting ready for school, getting up, getting ready for work, me getting up to make sure I'm ready to get my daughter to school. So it's not a strongly disagree, but it's a disagree. Next question. I can sometimes be very distressed by a topic that others think of as trivial. I'm going to put disagree. I don't feel distressed a lot. I'm pretty hard to shake up. Next question. I find it difficult to engage in a task of no interest to me, even if it is important. You know what? I agree with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if everyone agrees to that. There are several important things that I need to do, and I have to talk myself and motivate myself to do it because I don't want to do it. It's lame. Going to the DMV, the government always seems to make very important. But man, do I gotta dig deep to wait in that freaking line. Next, I sometimes accidentally say something others find offensive, rude, when I'm focused on a task. Well, I say things all the time that people find offensive and rude. But it's because they're sensitive and I'm not necessarily doing a task. But maybe I am doing a task and I still say what I think. But the defining factor to my answer is I never say it on accident. So I strongly disagree. Next question. I often engage in activities I am passionate about to escape from anxiety. I would actually say if I'm upset or have anxiety, it takes me out of the mood to do my passionate stuff. So I don't necessarily run to those activities when I'm feeling anxiety. If I'm upset or have anxiety, I usually just mentally take control of it. So I strongly disagree. Next question. Often when I'm focused on activities, I do not notice I am thirsty or hungry. Actually, I strongly agree. I can go almost all day without eating. If I'm in a recording studio or working on a video, then the next thing you know, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock and I haven't ate anything. But once I'm done with those activities, I'd be like, I'm starving Marvin. So I strongly agree. Next question. I find it easy to keep up with group discussions where everyone is speaking. I strongly agree. Next question. Routines provide an important source of stability and safety. Are they talking about just in general? Because that's what a routine is for safety and stability. It's a routine. I strongly agree. Next question. I often find engaging in stimming, fidgeting, rocking to be relaxing. Now for me, I don't fidget, I don't rock. But what I do is I pace like a mofo. If I'm in deep thought or having a conversation on the phone, I will pace back and forth. One time I blew up a step counter. And if there's a bigger space, then I would just continuously do laps. Sometimes I catch myself and be like, whoa, you're wearing your shoes out and you can't afford new ones. So when you think of this question, think of things that you might do that aren't typical. They're saying rocking and fidgeting, but maybe you play with your hands a lot. Maybe you play with your hair. Maybe you start popping your knuckles or whistling. To me, that all counts. So I strongly agree. Next question. I often get stuck thinking about the possibilities that might come out of a decision. Well, doesn't it matter how big the decision is, how important it is? If I'm just deciding what shirt to wear today, well, maybe there's not much to think about. But if I'm deciding if I should go in for that heart surgery, there could be all kinds of possibilities that are running through your head. There are variables to these questions. These questions are not yes or no or black and white. But if I was to say that I'm making a decision that actually matters of some sort, then yes, I think about all the possibilities and repercussions of that decision. So I'll put I agree. Next question. I rarely find myself getting stuck in loops of thought. So what does that mean? I'll be in a loop of thought if I haven't figured out the thought or came to a conclusion, but if I concluded a thought or came to a solution, I don't keep thinking about it over and over and over and over again after the thought has completed. But maybe you're having a problem figuring out the thought or coming to a conclusion or solution, so you're stuck thinking about it, looping that thought over and over and over till you figure it out. But since it said rarely, I would say I rarely get stuck in those type of thoughts and situations. But actually, I take that back because I think about a lot of things. So I'm going mid. Next question. I am still fascinated by many of the things I was interested in when I was much younger. I would say for the most part that's true. I liked basketball and football when I was younger. I still like basketball and football. I liked art when I was younger. I still like art. I like rap music when I was younger. Well, rap music is trash now, but I wish it wasn't. The only thing I would say I'm not interested in anymore when I was younger is probably like a few cartoons here and there, and that's not even 100% true. I'm less interested in them, but I can still watch Transformers. Plus, I feel like I'm a kid at heart, so I'm gonna say I agree. Next question. I find a problem I can't solve distressing and or hard to put down. This depends on if it's challenging me. If I'm doing a puzzle, then I do have a very hard time putting it down if I can't figure it out, like Sudoku or something like that. It becomes a major challenge between me and myself when I'm doing those type of puzzles. Now, they couldn't be talking about a life problem, right? Because you can't put a life problem down. So I'm thinking riddles, puzzle problems, things like that. So I strongly agree. Next question. People tell me I get fixated on things. Nobody has told me that. People tell me I think too much. And then I tell them they think too little. So I strongly disagree. Next question. When I'm interested in something, I tend to be passionate about it. I'm going to say I agree, but I'm looking at it like when I do something, when I involve myself in something, I always try my best to do the best I can when I'm interested in it. So that's why I put agree. Because I'm looking at this question like if I'm interested in something and get involved in it, then yes, I usually get passionate about it and I try to do my best and I try to overachieve. So I agree. Next question. Often when I'm focused on activities, I do not notice when I need the bathroom. I'm going to put strongly disagree because how can you need the bathroom but not know that you need it? That's never happened. And actually, it makes no sense. If you don't know you need it, do you need it? So strongly disagree. Next question. I sometimes focus on the incident for a substantial time, days after the event. Again, it says sometimes. So I strongly agree. I sometimes focus on the incident days after it happened. Who hasn't? Dumb questions. But this is supposed to be the best assessment to find out if you're autistic. Next question. When there is a lot of information to consider, I often struggle to make a decision. Like any decision, the more information you have to think about, it's going to be harder to make that choice or at least take longer to make that choice, right? But also it depends on what the decision is. Is it important? Is it life-threatening? What's the consequence of making the wrong decision? Is it little? Is it big? Or should I assume since there's a lot of information in the decision, it must be important? This is a little wacky question, so I'm just going to go in the middle. Next question. Sometimes making a decision is so hard I get physically stuck. Strongly disagree. I've never been physically stuck without something holding me down. Next question. I often loop back to previous thoughts. These questions are so vague. There's not one thought that I've ever had that I can remember that I never rethought of or loop back to. And on top of that, most of my thoughts are things I'm working out, trying to figure out psychologically, because I do a lot of thinking about the world and how it acts. So I do loop back through my thoughts quite often. So I guess I'll put agree. Next question. Sometimes when I'm focused on an activity, I do not recall all the information I might need to make a good decision. These questions are giving me a headache. They're making me distressed and literally injecting me with autism. Let's read this question again. Sometimes, which means sometimes when I'm focused on an activity, I do not recall all the information I might need to make a good decision. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody has forgot some information on some activity they were doing at some point in their life. You know, sometimes. So, yes, I strongly agree. Sometimes I cannot recall all the information I need to make a correct decision because there was too much information and I didn't remember it all. Next question. When I'm interested in a topic, I like to learn everything I can about that topic. First off, I'm so glad there's only 2 more questions because this is really hurting my head. If I'm interested in a topic, I want to know everything about that topic. What level of interest are we talking about? Sorta interested? Very interested? There have been topics that I've been interested in and just want to know about, and then there have been things that I want to know everything about. So I guess I'll go mid. Next question. I sometimes become highly anxious by focusing on the many possible situations that might occur at a future event. The only time I would say this was true is when I'm involved in the event. Like if I was doing a live rap show or comedy show or something like that, because now I can make a mistake or I can do good, and those type of thoughts can make me nervous or give me a little bit of anxiety. Or maybe you're going to a sporting event and you could feel a little anxious that your team might lose and you have a really long, quiet drive back. So I guess for me, it all comes down to what's on the line during the event. So I guess I'll go mid with this one too. We are here. We made it. The last question. I tend to feel quite self-conscious unless I'm deeply absorbed in the task. I'm going to make this easy and say strongly disagree. So I guess I completed the monotropism assessment. Now let's hit submit. Here's the exciting part. Let's see the results. As a reminder, this is an assessment for monotropism, a trait sometimes associated with autism. Not autism directly. If you score high, please be sure to do further research into monotropism. More information could be found at blah blah blah. All right. Monotropism score 155 out of 235. My average was 3.30. This score suggests that you are more monotropic than about 1% of autism people and about 58% of allistic people based on the data from the initial validation study. Now, I thought it would show up showing that I do have this monotropism that would lean me towards having autistic traits. Or if I feel like I want a lot of clout and tons of views on TikTok, now I do have autism. Now, mainly, I just wanted to show this is what these self-diagnosers are doing. And then they claim they have autism, make TikToks, and tell all of us that we're stupid. Now, for the ones that decided to do the assessment themselves, how did your score turn out? Did you find out that you might be autistic? Did your score turn out how you thought it would? Or did it turn out completely different? All I'm trying to do is expose that this is trending. All they do is jump online, take these weak assessments, and then claim that they're autistic. Autism is trending. It is cool to have autism. It is celebrated to have autism. Here's a little clip that sums up exactly what I'm saying.
Noticed a lot of people commenting and being like, oh my goodness, that resonates really deeply. Am I touched by autism too? Maybe I'm autistic. And I'm telling you, if you're a woman or a person of color, there's a high chance that if it resonates and you think you are, you probably are. You know, the initial studies were only on cisgendered white boys. So if, again, POC and women, if you feel like you're autistic, you might be touched by the autism too, baby. I'm just saying.
So for anyone who chose to do the assessment, let me know. Were you
Touched by the autism too, baby. I'm just saying.
Most likely you were. I'm not sure how you could possibly do that assessment and not be
Touched by the autism too, baby. I'm just saying.
But now that you know, your favorite YouTuber is
Touched by the autism too, baby. I'm just saying.
all I need you guys to do is comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you think this assessment is valuable? Do you think people should use this assessment to self-diagnose themselves? Or did you find the assessment distressful and all it did was give you a
Touched by the tism too, baby. I'm just saying.
But while you're telling me your thoughts, I'm also gonna need you to hit that bell like the hunchback. Also click that hitchhiker button and sub ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip. Day in